Welcome to TrailManners, the podcast so dedicated to mountain trails and running that they broadcast out of a 78 Volkswagen bus in the mountains. Who does that? Eric and Joel are your hosts and will bring you the trail life as you may have not heard it before. You hear about everything from gear reviews, nutrition to keep you upright and moving forward, and they'll even bring guests into the bus for conversations that you won't hear anywhere else. It's time for some running adventures on a higher elevation. The old 78 Volkswagen bus is fired up and headed to the mountains. Here are your hosts for TrailManners, proudly representing the 801 with their passion and love for the trails, Eric Manning and Joel Hatch.
Welcome to the TrailManners podcast, episode number 50. That's right, episode 50. Today, we're going to be talking with global icon and new author, Cory Reese. We're also excited to announce that this show has been helped make possible by the Intermountain McKay Surgery Center and Orthopedics. Today, we have a grand opening scheduled. Free tours at 4 p.m., so don't miss that. This facility is 82,000 square feet. It's going to feature an outpatient surgical services, physical therapy services, including indoor and outdoor rehab areas and therapy pools, radiology, pharmacy, McKay Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Clinic, and the Carlton Harrison Clinic. Again, today at 4 p.m. TrailManners are going to be there all day today, talking with some great people and then helping them out with their grand opening. So if this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The TrailManners podcast is produced every week for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at trailmanners.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at TrailManners. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get after it. All right, welcome to episode 50.
Wish we had some fancy music to go with that.
I should have brought something up. So episode 50, by my math calculations, that's halfway to 100.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
I think that's impressive.
My math skills, or just that we're at 50?
Both.
Well, we're in Studio 78,
Yes.
22nd Street Trailhead, one day out from the Wasatch 100.
Yeah.
So
Lots of carnage yesterday, huh?
Lots of carnage yesterday. And our guest for show number 50 is global icon,
Yes.
Cory Reese.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, bud.
Yeah, we enticed him into the van here at the trailhead. He had no problems jumping in. So
Because that candy sign was out.
right.
That donut sign was out.
Yep.
Yeah, we had
there.
Yeah.
had donuts, and he came running.
Came running.
Literally. So, yeah, thanks for coming. I mean, you were up here for Wasatch.
Yep.
Doing some pacing duties. But, yeah, we're super psyched to have you on the show.
Thank you.
People, just so you know, near the end of this show, we're going to talk about a contest for some books.
That's right. So you got to listen to the whole show.
That's right. And
As usual.
participate. So that'll be good. But let's just get right into this, right? Who is Cory Reese? The global icon. People see you on social media. They meet you everywhere. There's always people like taking selfies with you and doing cool things. But, you know, we know that you're an author. Okay. You're a runner.
Yep.
Race director.
Yep.
Which, you know, maybe a lot of people know. Husband, father, photographer. My favorite on your book, though, is glazed donut connoisseur.
Yes.
So, because I'm a cheese curd connoisseur,
Okay,
so I
okay.
relate a little bit over there.
Donuts are way better than cheese curd.
Sometimes, maybe. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
right now?
wait till you get older. You won't be able to, like, hammer those anymore.
Yeah.
that metabolism will catch up to
Yeah.
you. Then you switch over to cheese curds.
They take you home.
They do.
You're from Southern Utah,
Yep.
right? Are you originally from Southern Utah? born
No,
and
I grew
raised?
up in Sandy,
Oh,
and then
okay.
I've been down in southern Utah for maybe 18 years.
Okay. What took you down to Southern Utah?
I first went down for school and then work. So, yeah. After being down there, I would never want to come back to northern Utah. I
Really?
don't like the traffic and
Okay.
Really?
snow.
The snow's kind of, but you lived in Laramie for a little bit.
I did live in Laramie.
So
for,
you got to experience that joy.
Yes.
So how long were you in Laramie? What years?
I was there for 2 years for graduate school, so I think that was 98 to 2000.
Okay.
Yeah.
I lived there from 2000 to 2003, so
Oh, really?
I sympathize with him.
Yeah. I like
You
I
liked
like
it?
Laramie, but the weather is brutal.
Oh, that's rough there. Yeah, I had an okay experience in Laramie. Somebody set my car on fire, so I'm a little bitter about it.
I drove through Laramie
Yeah.
like in the 1990s once. It was cool.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, there's great mountains close by there. Super rad. The snowy range is cool, and then Vita View is really good. Good trails to run
Yeah.
on there. But yeah, that'll drive you to southern Utah real quick.
For sure. Southern Utah's kind of the opposite of Laramie.
Yeah, it is.
No cars got caught on fire down southern Utah?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No.
Okay. Just from the heat, like in mid
Yeah, exactly.
Spontaneously combust.
There we
Yeah.
go. It's like, boom, well, there goes another one. Good thing I got that on my coverage.
Yeah.
So how did you get into running? Let's just get after this. I mean, you obviously you do a lot of it. You've done some amazing, Badwater just recently, obviously. But how did you get into running? Did you get into it in an early age, or how did that work?
No, I started running in 2009. With the St. George Marathon being down there, every year they have a big special in the newspaper the day after the St. George Marathon, and so I saw stories and pictures about that and thought, that looks really awesome. I think I want to try that. And so that's really what started my running. I didn't run before that, and so I ran the St. George Marathon and loved the running community and the experience, and so I started doing a bunch of marathons and half marathons, and you know where that goes from there. You get bit by the bug, and
You go down that rabbit hole pretty fast.
Yep.
So how'd you get into the trail side of things then?
We live around just hundreds of miles of amazing trails. So sometime after my first marathon, a friend of mine said, "Hey, do you want to come out on a trail run with me?" And he's crazy fast, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I've never run on a trail, and your pace is 3 times what mine is." And I finally said, "Okay, I'll go, but you have to promise to leave me. Like, don't stay with me. Don't feel any obligation. I'm fine." And so I went out with him, and just that first time, I remember everything so vividly. It was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. I have trails in my blood, and I just didn't know it until now. So I really just fell in love with it from that very first time, and I haven't looked back.
So now you mentioned the St. George Marathon, but and like I said, with being a global icon, I'm sure you've got social media stalkers. Me and Joel are social media stalkers, so
Yeah, you have
we know
to.
there's some out there for you for sure. You've done a quad St. George Marathon, is that right?
Yep, this past year.
Now, are you the only person that's done that we know of?
Yeah, I tried to ask around and ask if anyone else had done it. I don't think anyone else has.
I could see that not being something a lot of
Right.
people have done personally.
No.
But
And I can't say I would recommend it to anyone either.
Now, when you did the quad, did you run down to the finish and then run back up to the start?
No, I started at the finish line and ran up to the start line and then back to the finish and then up to the start. And my goal was to get up to the start by the time the official race started. And thankfully I did, and then did the last marathon with the official race.
So you went down the hill twice.
Yes.
Oh, man.
awesome. Because quad is 4.
Yeah.
Right? So
I mean, that's
26.2.
Were your legs just done?
They were destroyed.
Because that's a lot
the road is
downhill, right?
brutal. It is a lot of downhill, and it's
road, and it's not forgiving.
for sure. For sure. I felt that one for a few days afterward.
I imagine so.
I just don't. I see people do feats like different things, but
Right.
that's one I would have a hard time just wrapping my mind around.
Doing
you know?
one.
Yeah, one.
One
I've
would be
never done
on
a
the
road
road.
marathon
Nope.
period in my life. That's going to be on my grave, my tombstone. Never ran a
Never
road
ran
marathon.
a road marathon.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to be pegged on that one. And there's nothing on the horizon anytime soon either. So what else have you been doing? I mean, you wrote the book. How long how long did it take you to write the book?
It took about a year to get from start to finish. The writing part of it took quite a while, obviously, but so much of the time was things like the people doing graphic design and the editor and the formatting for the print. I didn't realize how long that part of it took once the book was done. So the book's been done for months, but it's just taken a while for all of that stuff to get done.
To come together.
Yep.
So with the book, how did that come about? I mean, when did you decide, hey, I'm going to write a book? Because that's not, a lot of people talk about it. I've talked about even writing a book. I just got no topics right in my head right now.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? What made you go after it? Because it's awesome.
Yeah. It really came from Steve Hooper, who is the owner of St. George Running Center, and for a couple of years he's been badgering me. Hey man, you've got these really interesting stories. You should write a book, and I just didn't. I just wanted to be running. I didn't want to be riding,
Right.
and so.
But you are already writing, right? I mean, this is kind of like the accumulation of all your blog stories, right?
It is. So that's actually where it came from. Is that Steve said? Finally, he said, "You can look on your blog statistics, and you can see what people are interested in and
Right.
what stories they like. So take those things that they're interested in and build off of those." And for some reason, that's when a light bulb went on. Like, oh,
Right. You're like,
okay,
the groundwork's already being kind of laid at that point, right?
Right. So the biggest challenge for me was that I really like to take pictures, and I use pictures to tell the stories. And so
Right.
doing a book, it was like you can't use the pictures. You have to write. You have to build with writing.
Sure.
And so I had to go back through everything and kind of build off of that. So it was a challenge, but I love writing too.
Right.
So
And you're a fantastic writer.
for sure.
Really
thank
are.
you. Thanks. Yeah.
I've gotten halfway through the book just in one day,
Wow.
just because it's that much fun to read. It is. But I mean, there's some really, meaningful stuff in the book too. I mean, they're great stories, but yeah, it's a heartfelt book
Oh, thank
so
you.
far.
Yeah, thanks.
I haven't got to the last part yet.
The last part isn't heartfelt at all.
No, the last part's all donuts and
It is.
and guy stories.
Right.
So, with the book, I mean, was there some trepidation when you got into it, though? I mean, because it's a book, and like, are people going to read this?
Yeah.
Am I not wasting my time? Because you also obviously have some great stuff for your family or friends or yourself. But I mean, was there some of that that popped in your head? I mean,
Yeah, I really had two main hesitations. Like, one, is it worth doing? Do I have something worth telling? Is there a story worth telling?
Right.
And then two, it's really vulnerable and uncomfortable to just open up about everything, as you
Right.
see in the book. And putting yourself out there definitely opens yourself up to criticism.
Right.
And, putting a book out, I mean, there's trolls out there and people who
Oh,
want to talk bad about you. And I haven't run into that before. I mean, I've been really lucky where everyone has been so supportive, and I feel like the running community is so tight and supportive. But I know that will come. I know people will find bad things to say, and
Sure.
and so I had to just be willing to take that risk.
if you have any of those, send them our way.
Yeah, we'll
Okay,
take care
you'll
of them.
take care of them.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll put the candy sign out.
Yeah, we got a
Make 'em disappear.
we got a side business that not a lot of people know about.
I know.
But if you got some trolls, send them our
Thank
way.
you. Okay,
yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah,
I'll do
yeah.
it.
It'll end quick.
So with leading up to the book, your blog was really successful. You've been putting your stories out there for years. You became a writer for Ultra Running magazine. So you already had kind of that foundation out there. You already knew people enjoyed your work. So, that next step, was it really that hard making that next step to, oh my gosh, I'm going to pour kind of my life story into this book? Was it really that big of a step, or was it kind of like, all right, the foundation's there?
I think it wasn't as big of a step because I felt like I've been doing the blog and the magazine and writing for so long that I felt fairly comfortable that the people who like my stuff like it, and if you don't like it, that's okay. Like,
Sure.
Not everyone has to like it, but
No.
I felt like there was enough of a group that kind of supported what I do that made it easier for sure.
Right. And I think that, you're such a nice, humble guy, and you tell such a good story. And I think that's what people are drawn to.
Yeah.
Thank
right?
you.
And we say that over and over again, especially in the trail running community. You mentioned it in the book too, that the trail running community, it's night and day compared to the road running community. And we're not bashing on the road community, but really it's about the three guys in the van here who just, everyday runners.
Yeah.
Who all have got stories to tell. And you just happen to have this amazing gift at telling the story. And I think that's why you're so successful.
I think you bring up a good point that when you're out doing these races or having these adventures, you can't go do 100-miler or volunteer at a race or pace someone or go out and run on these trails and not have adventures and stories to tell. It's just part of it, which is why I love it so much. That there's always a story, good or bad. I love it.
Well, sometimes you don't even notice that the story's there until after the fact.
Yeah.
Because just yesterday, or was it yesterday? Yeah, it's been a long couple of days, but I paced Jim Skaggs at Wasatch, and I didn't realize the stories that were going on until I was driving home. And then talking to my family, and I just was rambling about things that happened, and I'm like, well, that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But at the time, you just kind of like it was just another day on the trail.
Right.
And so that's what you said when you came up, and I told you I took him in. I bet you got some good stories. And that was the first thing you said. But I mean, that's kind of what we do out there.
Yep.
Is come across those people and see their stories, which become our stories.
Yeah.
And so you have that quick bond of, hey, I know you, and remember that one time, and at band camp or whatever it might be. So. Well, I got to interrupt. We got a quail out here again. And the last show we shot, a quail came and landed on that post. So I think we actually now have
a
stalker.
Yep.
It's a quail.
If she comes over here and starts pecking at you, you're on your own, buddy.
I'll wrap that sucker in bacon and chuck it on the grill so fast. All right, so back to the book. So how did you, when you went through the book, because one of the things I love about the book is all the chapters, because they're not like 40 pages each.
No, they're short and very easy to read.
That's what's so cool about it, because they're all just like tidbit stories of different times, different things. Was there a long list of those, like a longer one that's in there? I mean, how did you get the content that was going to be in your book? I mean, you went back to your blog maybe and maybe brought some of that in, but the stories in there's a lot. There really is.
Yeah. There are a lot of stories in there. I did kind of go back to the blog, and there are a lot of things that I debated including or maybe not including, and something that I'm interested in. So this book is, like you said, a lot of kind of bite-sized stuff. I am interested in the challenge of trying to write one story. I think that down the road, I want to do a book about Badwater and have it be one story, all the down and dirty nitty gritty stuff from one story. I think that could be done. Something that just gets so in detail and depth. I think that'd be really cool.
Well, because you mentioned that, and that was going to be one of my questions: is there a plan for a sequel to this?
I think so. I think that would be fun. Yeah.
Now, did anybody know that beforehand, or are we cracking a major story here?
I think so.
I think you're cracking it.
Sweet. Right. So all of you out there that have got this book, it's only been out a couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think like 1 week officially.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So officially 1 week. I'm sure there were some people that got a hold of it early. So you're already done because you couldn't put it down. There you go. There's going to be a sequel.
Yeah. But
so
you got to run Badwater again, correct? To get more stories.
No, that's not correct.
Sure?
That's false.
That is not an accurate statement.
Now, we know how that happens, because you're going to be like, no way am I doing that ever again. And then 3 months...
Yeah,
like, you're gonna pull that envelope out. And you're gonna start sticking money in that envelope again to save up for it.
I'm only a couple weeks out, so I'm still in therapy.
Yes, I'm
dealing
sure
with
you
the
are.
last race.
That's one I don't.
So let's touch on that a little bit, maybe. Badwater itself. So, at what point was that seed planted in your head that I'm gonna do this?
Years ago, many years ago, I watched a documentary called Running on the Sun.
Right.
And it's about Badwater, and it shows everything. The glorious parts about people crossing the finish line,
right,
and the completely unglorious parts of people popping blisters and barfing all over themselves and sleep deprivation and shoes melting. I mean, it shows everything. And,
right.
And so that's what first caught my eye, and I was intrigued when they say it's the world's toughest foot race. I thought, okay, I want to try that out and see if that's real.
Really? I mean, that you just kind of said that. So I want to try this.
I'm not taking their word for it.
Yeah, because they're a bunch of suckers.
What do they know?
Yeah.
I wondered if it was maybe just marketing hype, and after
Wait a
finishing the race.
I mean, you're a pretty smart guy. I mean, you've got a master's degree. Did you not look at this and say, "Okay, let's start doing the math. This is in the hottest part of the U.S. It's 135 miles, and it's during the summer."
Yeah.
Did that not start adding up to like, okay, this might be actually the hardest foot race in at least the U.S.
Right. I don't know. Those things must not have added up because I somehow applied for this thing, and it's true. It, at least out of the races I've ever done, it definitely by far was the hardest thing I've ever done.
So what was it about the race that made it the hardest thing? Was it the heat? Was it just being on the road the whole time? Was it the sleep deprivation?
Those three things. That
Right.
It was kind of a cumulative thing. The heat was definitely an issue, but I felt like I had done enough heat training where it was manageable.
Well, I mean, you already live in, Satan's like little microwave
you live
down
really
there in
close to the
southern
sun.
Utah, so that shouldn't have been a problem for you.
You need to trademark that, Satan's little microwave.
Yeah, I mean,
Go
that was the
hashtag
only
on
thing
it.
that came out. I was going to say something more vulgar, but this is a PG-13 show.
Yeah, that helped living in Satan's little microwave
Right.
because I could go run during the day and I would put tights on and a long sleeve shirt and a base layer and a jacket and
Right.
a wool cap and go run when it was 110 degrees. So that was a huge help with the training
Right.
to help me prepared, and I think it really helped. I think the heat training.
I imagine it did.
Yeah, but the sleep deprivation was beyond description.
So compare this sleep deprivation to when you did across the years.
Mhm.
So in the book, you have a really good story about how you did 200 miles across the years race, which happens in when is that?
It's in the end of December.
Right, and it's in Arizona, and you're on a 1 mile kind of like not paved, but like gravel,
Right.
dirt, and you just do loops.
Yep.
And you did, was it 72 hours?
Yeah.
So you went not straight, but pretty much straight through for 72
Mm-hmm.
hours to get your 205 miles.
Yeah.
So how was that sleep deprivation compared to this one?
It was pretty close. The sleep deprivation during Across the Years is also just completely demolishingly brutal.
Right.
I think the thing that made it a little bit harder with Badwater is that by the time it was time to sleep, we had been out in the middle of Death Valley during the day, and your body's just wrecked by that point. And
Right.
and I was my feet and knees and legs hurt so bad that even though I was so tired that I was sleepwalking and stumbling myself awake, I tried to take a couple 20-minute naps. And
Right.
I just couldn't sleep. 'Cause
Everything hurt so bad.
Yeah.
That'd be terrible.
Yeah.
So you look like you had a really good crew for Badwater,
I had an awesome crew.
right? Toby was down there.
Yep.
She's a little crazy, isn't she?
She's so crazy.
But
I
in
love
a good
her.
way.
Yes.
We'll get the stories off air.
Yeah. So how crucial were they to helping you?
They were amazing. Yeah, they were so good. Toby was kind of a punk. Like the crew is allowed to stop every 2 miles to refill your water bottles and give you ice or whatever. And
Right.
so I'd say, okay, go up 2 miles, and I would know that they were going farther than 2 miles. And
love it.
I knew exactly who it was too. It was not my wife.
Right.
It was not my friend Judd. It was
Yeah.
not my friend Claire. It was Toby.
Yeah.
And I had no doubt.
Was she going like 2.5 or 3,
Yeah,
something like that?
2.5 or 3.
Yeah.
And so I didn't say anything about it because I think that she was just trying to keep me moving.
Sure.
And afterward, I lit into her, like just totally joking, like, I know it was you. I know what you were doing. And, but she said, I knew you weren't in trouble because you would get to us and you still had water in your water bottles.
Right.
So I knew it wasn't a risk and we were just trying to keep you
Right.
moving.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, Toby is one of the most amazing people I know. I
Right
love
on.
her.
So, besides battling, sleep deprivation, the heat, that course has got some climbing on it, right?
Yes.
I mean, because at first it's kind of flat, and all of a sudden you get these ass kickers,
Yes.
and it just goes straight up, right?
Yeah, really straight
How was
up.
that? Having to experience that after being out in the heat and being on the road for how long are you on the road until you hit that point where you start climbing?
I think I think the first huge climb starts around mile 42 or 45 or something, and it is just so never-ending steep.
They're long, right?
Yeah, you think running in Death Valley, you're just running across the desert floor, and
right.
It really is not like that. There are 3 really steep mountains. So the first one was really steep. The second one is not as steep, but you have more miles on your legs. And then that last climb, the last 13 miles of the race, I truly have never seen anything like it. I've never seen a road so steep.
Right.
I don't know if this is true or not. I mean, it's on the internet, so it must be true.
It's got to be.
They said that the road is an 18% grade.
Oh my
in some
gosh!
parts.
Really?
It's
That's
insane.
old school fun,
Right? No, it's not old
That's
school
old
fun.
school fun.
Joel said that, and Corey's face didn't even crack a smile. He's like, no,
Old
it's
school
not.
torture.
That's old school fun, man. That's like when they used to build roads in the mountains without the truck pull off.
Yeah.
That's old school fun. Just have at it,
It's not fun. It's old school, but you gotta remove that last word.
Oh man, you are only a few weeks out. You can't even say that was fun.
No,
Give it a couple more months, right? And you'll be like, yeah, that was fun. Let's do it again.
Maybe.
Why don't we have any 18%ers around here? We'll go back for it. So with that race, I have to ask, and I know it's probably been asked, but I'm going to ask for myself, what's the scoop on that little kitty outfit you had going on there?
Oh my gosh. Dude, my eyes just have not recovered from that.
You can't unsee that.
No, you can't. You got to go back to like 2010 when Killian came and ran Western States and his little white, see-through
solid,
thing.
yeah.
It's the same thing.
So you're comparing me to Killian.
Yes,
Is that what you're saying?
I am.
Did we tell you were a global icon already?
I know,
mean,
right? See?
Well, so that little kitty outfit, I had the book up for pre-sale. And so,
Is that what your wife calls it?
little kitty outfit.
Corey, you need to get the little kitty outfit on.
no, that thing needs to be lit on fire. We had this pre-sale goal, and I feel so thankful. It made the goal in the first day, and it was a month-long thing, and so they said you should do a stretch goal, and so I set the stretch goal. Okay, if we get this many pre-orders, I'll put on this hideous, like,
Where'd you get that?
masculinity robbing suit somewhere on the internet.
Well, of course.
Everything's
You're
out.
not going to admit where you got it from.
So it made an appearance at Badwater for about a quarter of a mile.
Really?
So that was what? How long's Badwater from today? Like a couple. He's looking at 12 hours.
Less than 2 months.
Okay.
Wow.
How many times have you wore that outfit since then?
0.
You still
0
have
times.
it, though, which is amazing.
I do still have
It's
it.
going to be like his secret weapon
Now,
coming forward.
So I need to ask, can I borrow that for Halloween?
Sure.
Joe likes to rock some cool things for Halloween. Let me tell you. He
You
likes it.
gotta sacrifice your man card when you put that thing
Oh,
on.
there's no problem with that. Dude, I'm old. I don't give a shit anymore.
That man card's been gone a long time.
Yeah, let's be honest.
So when you finished Badwater, what kind of emotions did you go through? Were you emotional, or were you just too exhausted? It's just an accumulation of a lot of years,
Yeah,
right? A
yeah.
lot of, just like any time you hit a goal of any magnitude, you have that rush of emotion. And yours, obviously, Badwater is different.
Yeah.
Your crew's there. That's a huge undertaking for them. So there's that. What were you filled with when you came across that?
I guess I still have this inadequacy feeling as a runner. Like I'm not very fast, and I mean people are finishing double the amount of time it's taking me. So for me to even get into Badwater, I just had to pinch myself. Like this is so crazy that they have enough faith in me to think that maybe this guy can finish. So I was just so honored to get into the race and to finally see that finish line. I'm not a very emotional person, but I was there, and so we got there. And what I think is cool, they have a finish line ribbon across the finish line for everyone that comes up. And
Wow.
So I got there and I just held on to it for a second and kissed it. I closed my eyes and I just wanted to kind of breathe in everything that was going on, because it was just overwhelming, and I just felt so thankful to be there. And it sounds totally cliche, but the harder you work for something, the more it means to you. And
Right.
and I had never worked so hard for a finish line before.
So you weren't ready just to tag it and turn around and do a double?
No, I was not ready to do that.
That will be his next book.
Well, if it is, we need a mention in that for,
Yeah,
for
no.
planting your seed. So, that being said, I mean, like you said, you worked harder for that than anything else, and I don't think that's cliche at all. And I think
No.
a lot of people are like that. I mean, I look back to like my first 100 or different accomplishments, and even when you see other people do those things, I mean, just Wasatch 100 finished yesterday.
Yeah.
And seeing, I mean, I had the joy of going by the finish line, or helping Jim across when a girl finished her first 100.
That's
And
awesome.
her 3 kids came running out to her, and seeing the emotion on her
Yeah.
family's face. I mean, I didn't work. That wasn't me, but I was totally in the moment.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot to be said for setting those goals, and no matter what it is, Tommy Barlow getting his.
Oh, man, that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, he got did the Grand Slam, and just neat stories like that.
Yeah.
So what's your next story? What's on the docket? What do you think you're going to be doing next, or have you decided?
I don't know if I've fully decided yet. I know I can feel things changing with me a little bit. I used to be really into doing every race I could get my hands on, and I really love the race environment and the community and the social part of it. But I notice myself going more towards someone like Davy Crockett. I so much admire him, where he'll just go run for 50 miles and
Right.
or go run for 100 miles, or find some crazy course that no one's ever done and go do it just to be outside and not necessarily need the race part of it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like that adventure.
More
Right?
of the adventure. I can feel myself going a little bit more that way.
I think that's almost a natural progression for people that have been doing trail running for a while, right?
I think
'Cause
so.
I still like racing a lot, but boy, I really I want to get out there and see more,
Yeah.
Yeah.
do more.
Well, to me, they're two different things still. Like you mentioned, that race environment, it's exciting. It's electric, even when you're low. But then you get what you're talking about now, it's like more surreal moments almost,
Right.
a different type of enjoyment where you can sit down, take 15 minutes and enjoy your surroundings and not have to worry about anything else.
Totally.
Because I hear more and more people doing that, and you see more and more people doing that, whether it's a Teton Cirque or a Grand Canyon or even an FKT attempt for some. I think people are gravitating towards exploring a little more, because there's only races in certain areas,
Right.
places, and you can get to and permits. But when you want to go explore, it's pretty much Pandora's box when you get down the trail. You know what I mean?
Yep,
So
totally.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Some of those things. Is there places that you have in mind for that? I mean, places that you want to see or maybe do those things?
I'd love to get over to the Hard Rock course.
Oh, yeah.
I feel myself drawn to that area just from seeing the pictures.
Huh.
Not necessarily to do Hard Rock. I
Sure.
would like to go maybe photograph Hard Rock or do Soft Rock or something like that.
Right.
I just really want to get over there sometime. Something else I'm thinking about doing, there's this trail in our area called the More Cowbell Trail, which I think is just the coolest name for a trail. I want to adopt that trail. I want it to be mine. So I think maybe for next year, I want to see how many times I can get that More Cowbell Trail loop.
What's that loop about? How long is it?
It's only like 3 miles,
Right.
but it is so beautiful, and I never get sick of it.
Right.
And so I think it would be kind of interesting to just get so familiar where you could run it with your eyes closed, and every rock on that trail. And
So there's a story in the book where Cory's wife breaks both her elbows.
Oh my gosh!
And so I think this is a good preface to when he goes and runs More Cowbell with his eyes closed.
don't fall and break both your elbows.
Yeah. I can see that happening. Maybe on the first time out.
You bring it.
He's like,
Right.
all right, here we go. Bonk. That didn't work.
That didn't work.
911.
Yeah.
How did
Okay,
this
I won't
happen?
do it with
Let's
my
not
eyes
do that.
closed. You bring up
Right?
a good point.
Yeah.
Saved you on that one.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So what kind of trail is? I mean, is it a technical trail? Is it up and down trail? Is it kind of a beginner
It's
trail?
got a few rollers, but it's a little bit technical in some spots, but it's pretty runnable.
So me and Joel have trails like that. We like to just call them cruiser runs.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
one
Kind of
of
what
those.
it is. One of those you just get on and you just let yourself go.
Yeah.
And
You
can-
know where every single rock is,
Yep.
every little branch.
You know when you can speed up and
Yeah.
go quick. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those are fun days. I
Yeah.
like it when I'll get a text from Joel. He's like, "Hey, tomorrow 8 a.m. cruiser run." I'm like,
Nice.
"Sweet."
Really? 8 a.m.
Well, sorry, 5 a.m.
Okay.
Sorry.
8 a.m. would be sleeping in.
Yeah, if you run with Joel, it's a 5 a.m. thing. So there's like two of us, me
Yeah.
and him.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. There's so many people out in the trails now at 5 a.m.
There's
It's
a lot.
crazy.
There's a lot more, especially when it gets hot. Yeah, that's Joel's text. 5 a.m. and it's my wife's always like, "Why do you guys have to go so early?"
Because you do.
I'm
Because
like,
you're an adult. That's why.
Yeah, that's not my answer. That is not anywhere close to my answer.
That's my excuse.
Yeah.
I'm adulting at my best right now.
So with the book, is there? And I know this is going to be hard, but I like putting people on the spot. It's what I do. Is there a couple maybe chapters that are just your favorite, like iconic or defining moments in the book?
That's a good question. I think the chapter about the across the years where I ran 205 miles, I think I like that one just because it kind of goes beyond what people the norms.
Right.
So the race distances, sometimes people get locked in, like a marathoner gets locked at 26.2
Right.
and they have a hard time kind of wrapping their head around, well, what if I went 26.3 or
Right.
or
Or
30
50K.
or 50K, and sometimes we get locked into I'm a 50-mile runner and
Right.
and I can't imagine going 100 but you can and
Yeah.
then some people get locked in I'm a 100-miler and I just can't fathom going another step beyond 100. Well, you can.
Yeah.
And so I think hearing about, at least for me personally, when I hear about people who have gone out and run 200 or 300 or 400 miles,
Right.
it kind of breaks the idea that we're only capable of so much.
Right.
I mean, you nail a good point because that's a question that I know people get asked a lot of time is, I'm a guilty of it. I remember doing my first 50, and I'm like, there is no way I could turn around and do that again.
Yeah.
But you're right. You lock it in your brain that it's your goal,
Yeah.
right? So after that, it's game over because that's not what I came for. And you get people out there asking you, I'm sure all the time too, how do you run 100 miles?
Mm-hmm.
I did a marathon once.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, because that's what you trained for. Or that's what you had in your head.
Yeah,
Right.
And so-
exactly.
and that's such a deciding factor. And being on the Wasatch course, I mean, it was fresh. You were out there too. That mindset when you get to a certain point. I mean, I ran into a girl and she was like, 75 miles. I'd never gone that far before. I've never
Right.
trained for farther than that. Well, you
Yeah.
don't train. You don't
No.
run an 80-mile training run.
Right.
But it's that mental part of it that is so huge if you can get past yourself, really. So I think that's such a good thing for the listeners out there to just think about a little bit, right? You never when you weren't born thinking I'm gonna run a marathon.
Yeah.
No.
There was that scare factor of like there's no way, and then you do it, and you're like, okay, what's next,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah. Most people are
Yeah,
like, I'm
okay.
never doing this again.
Yeah, right. There's
Right.
a lot of people that said that yesterday, and tomorrow they're going to be
Yes.
on the internet.
Oh,
looking
yeah.
for
They're on
another
Ultra sign up right now being, Javelina's coming up.
one. Well, I'm already
Yes.
fit.
Yeah, I'm already fit. I can recover by then.
Wait,
and I get to wear a costume.
You sound like you know how this mental talk goes.
Yep, pretty
been
much.
there, huh?
I've been there. I do it all the time.
Every
Yep.
single
Yeah,
every
you-
single race.
yeah, you get down about halfway down with the race, and you're like, I'm done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Never doing this again.
Yeah, I'm sticking to 50s.
Yeah. I'm changing my tune. I'm only doing marathons now.
Yep.
Forget that long stuff.
Yeah, Joel wants that costume. I mentioned it again. Did you see that?
Yeah, I
Javelina,
did.
You can
Yeah.
wear a costume.
I know, right? I just got to figure out. You're going to come face me, right?
That's right. Yeah, right. I'll wear a pit bull costume and chase you.
I think they have a costume contest. It'd be hilarious.
That's awesome.
So I've got, so far, I've read, 100 pages or so. And there's 2 or 3 really I think, defining moments of the book right now. And the first one's in chapter 10, intentional suffering. And this is where you're talking about people in the dialysis center. And on page 63, so folks, if you've got the book, go to page 63, pause the podcast.
Hold on.
Yep.
Okay, I'm there.
All right, you there? All right, so page 63. Cory goes on to state, I started hearing a consistent theme in the patients I talked to. Absolutely do not take your health for granted. Be spontaneous. Take chances in life because one day spontaneity could be taken away from you. If something is worth do it now. Don't wait. You don't know what tomorrow will hold. Live life to the fullest each and every day. Live your life in a way that you won't look back with regrets, thinking about all the things you wish you had done. Since then, I have tried to let their encouragements guide my life. If there is a race I want to run, I'm going to run it now. If there's a goal I want to achieve, I want to start working towards it now. I want to avoid the possibility of looking back on life and seeing missed opportunities. I want to challenge myself and grow personally. I want to nurture the relationships that are important. I want to encourage and support and give to others, and I want to do it now. So that really struck a nerve with me, and I know it will with you too, Eric, because that's really just been big in our minds lately. You know, that it's so important to not look back on a life and think that you wasted it. And that really, that really said something deeply to me when I read it, and that's why I dog-eared it. And I want to thank you for writing that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's good stuff right there.
It is.
You can't even describe it.
And the book is filled with little tidbits of that stuff, right? And that's why I'm really enjoying the book so far, and that's why it was so easy for me to read it yesterday.
Yeah, we just got the book a couple days ago. I couldn't take it on the Wasatch Trail with me.
You probably could have. You guys are going so slow. Sorry, Jim.
Joel said it. I mean, the stuff like that, I mean, it's a perfect example. I mean, that's the type of guy you are, and it's not like we hang out or we've, eaten donuts together or anything.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just coming across with your blog, your writing and things like that, and then obviously, your personality. I mean, that's some good stuff right there. And it's meaningful, and you mean it. It's not like some books you read where it's like fluff, right? And you do that. You do those things continually, and that's why it's impressive on what you do, and that's why people are so drawn to you. It's like Joel said it earlier, just so humble. You do it for the right reasons. You don't do it for, false things or, check me out. Unless you're wearing that costume. That might be the only time it's like, check me out. But I mean,
we understand that.
Yeah, but you do it for the right reasons. And I think that's why people are drawn to you. So,
right.
I mean, I'm going to be reading the book starting today for sure. But I can't stress enough to encourage people to go out and get the book.
Yeah, I think so.
Really.
I think, if you're an ultra runner, you're going to associate with this. Really, you are. Because Cory's gone through the same trials and tribulations that you have.
Yeah.
Right? And he just happens to be very eloquent at, expressing that in his writing. And you're going to identify with it, and you'll be like, yep, I know exactly what he's talking about.
And I've heard, too, with the books, I do this social media thing, and there's people that don't run that have read your book and are just the stories. I mean, just that right there has nothing to do with running.
Right.
Anybody could put that in their life.
Yeah.
So I think even if you don't run, there's moments and stories and opportunity for you to learn and grow as well.
No,
right?
there is. I think that's what's good because there's a lot of life lessons in here. And, one of the stories, and this was, when I read this chapter, and it's the chapter where he goes on and tells how his father passes away. I had to put it down because I was crying at the end of the chapter. I was. I mean, it really hit me hard, and I was like, "Damn, this is good stuff." It was really meaningful.
It's a book you'll read more than once.
I think so.
Yeah.
I can see it that way.
Yeah, and that's
absolutely.
That's pretty rare.
Yeah.
But the things that are really sucky in life that you go through, like everyone has their stuff. Not that you ever want to go through really sucky stuff,
right?
But without it, like it helps make you who you are.
Yeah, right. I mean, you don't grow without that suffering, right?
Right.
At least most of us don't.
Yeah.
it's not like this heartfelt progression without some sort of, you got to work for it.
Yeah,
right.
Totally.
Whether you're putting effort in or whether it's some sort of suffering, that's where the true growth comes from.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think you do a really good job of, putting that pen to paper.
Yeah, putting it so people can understand it into words. Because a lot of times stuff happens that you just can't, I can't put that into words and make it profound enough to where it's going to leave an impression on somebody.
Yeah.
And this is obviously not the case. Just that little section on page 63 you just read.
Yeah.
I'll hire you guys for PR. Thanks.
Well, I think you could probably do that with a lot of people. I've seen
are we
reviews.
required to wear the cat suit?
It is. It is a requirement.
I'm internet surfing
now,
today.
Listen, I'm okay with wearing it, but now we got to get Eric in the cat suit.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm pretty sure. I can probably answer that. No, right now. I think I'm going to wear a different size than you guys for one, so I might have to go with a different. It's a gray cat on yours, right?
Yep.
Can't get that out of my head. Is that sad that I know what color the cat is on his cat suit?
I want a black one. I want to be the
black cat.
I want to be the
little black cat, little mean one. But the book, nowhere near first. Ultramarathon Adventures from the back of the pack, Cory Reese. Now you say from the back of the pack, but maybe early on, right?
Actually, still now, I'm looking back at some of the races, and I would love to not be at the back of the pack. I just can't seem to get away from it.
Now, is that are you doing that on purpose now because there's so many good stories back there?
No, because I think you can find awesome stories anywhere. But
I threw that out there for you. That was a nice softball, and you didn't take it.
I'm looking at Wasatch last year. I finished somewhere around a half hour before the cutoff, and
right.
Gosh,
last year was hot.
It was really hot. It was miserable.
But you like that, right?
Satan's microwave. That was up your alley.
That's right up your alley, right?
Lobbing softballs your way. Come on, take a swing at one.
I'm just not. I don't know. I guess I'm just not built to be very fast. But I guess I've compensated for it in other ways, where I just try to go out and have fun. And,
right.
And you can do that whether you're fast or slow. So.
Right. Well, as Steph Gardner says, fun is the best.
Yeah. She's right.
And years ago, I wanted to come out with something similar just from my blog and write, because I considered myself for a while a middle of the pack guy, right? Because that's kind of pretty, thing. So I came out with moped, middle of the pack endurance dude.
Nice.
Right. So it was like an acronym, and I thought and it never took off. I never did anything with it. It's still on my to-do list. But,
nice.
But yeah,
that could work.
Yeah. Come on.
I'm a moped.
No, it sounds cool because look at a moped. They just putter along. That's what I do.
That doesn't sound cool.
It sounds way cool. Think about it.
We're going to have a little bit of clarification on this. We need people to weigh in on this on Facebook.
I drive a 78 Volkswagen bus. They don't go fast.
Well, that's cool.
Mopeds are pretty cool.
Yes, if you're Steph Gardner, you're that's rad.
Oh, I think you're going to make people mad because there's a lot of people that look cool on mopeds. Cory would.
Oh, I don't know.
With the cat suit, yes.
Yeah, he could be driving around St. George late at night when it's hot.
Going to get some donuts.
Get some donuts and ice cream, soft serve.
Soft serve.
So, yeah, but I mean, that's how it is. I knew I would never be fast, even if I was middle of the pack. And, of course, I finished definitely in the back of the pack, but I knew I'd never be fast. But so many times people get caught up in that because we ran across people yesterday, that they're like, oh, gosh, I wish I would finish. I was going for a sub 30, a sub 32, and it's like 34 hours. And it's like, listen, you just finished a 100-mile race.
Yeah, you're going to finish.
Exactly.
Some things you just got to throw out the window.
Yes.
I mean, don't
100%.
let an accomplishment of and I love goals, right? I mean, I've shot for goals and hit them, and I haven't hit them, and I'm guilty. But you can't take a goal. I mean, finishing a 100-miler should be the ultimate, right?
Yes.
In that aspect,
right?
Timing on it, yeah, absolutely. Let's shoot for a stretch goal or whatever you want to be, but don't let your time, your watch time, take away from your actual time, right?
For sure.
And I'll bring a, I can't remember, so I won't say it, but from the animated show Cars, I was watching that with my kids one day, and he says, I don't race for a time. I race to have a good time. And that was from Cars, right?
Yeah.
And so I tweaked it and talked about trail running, but something like that.
Nice.
But I mean, that's what it goes to. You're not out there. Yes, there's some people that are totally driven that they need that time and that's their goal. That's great. But don't let, your clock time determine your actual time out there.
Right.
I mean, you can't do that, or you're doing it for the wrong reasons, really.
One of the things I love about ultra running is that it seems like the back of the packers so much admire people at the front, the elite runners.
Right.
And I think there's that respect toward the elite runners feel like, oh my gosh, you guys have been out here for 36 hours.
Right.
And I was
finished
done in 20.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you are hardcore. You're amazing. So there's that mutual respect that I think is so cool.
Totally. I mean, I see that. I mean, Carl Melter one time, I mean, I heard him actually say that to somebody. He finished a race. Of course, he won it. Sitting at the finish line, cheering all the runners. The last runner comes across. It was like 35-something. And they were like, I can't believe you finished this in like 17 hours. And I can't believe it took you this long. He was like, and he flat out said this, I couldn't do it if it took me that long.
Right.
Like, he's like, mentally, I couldn't be out there that long.
Yeah.
So I think there is that mutual respect for it, because we were running yesterday, and I told Jim, we were resting, and I said, don't worry, Jim, you're not going to take first place. Let's go ahead and rest.
Right.
He's like, well, yeah, because they've already finished like 5 hours ago, and we still had like time to go. But it is. I don't know. I just can't stress that enough. Not because it's just me, but you can't let your clock time determine your time on the course. You just can't, or it just ruins it.
Yeah.
So it's hard because if you're doing a 100-mile race on some level, you're a driven person.
Yeah.
Right. And so nobody likes to not hit a goal, but you got to look at it in total perspective.
Well, you got to do it because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Johnson said that when we interviewed him.
Yep.
He goes, it has to be fun or it's just not worth doing.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite interviews you guys did, by the way.
That dude's nuts.
Well, we ran onto I ran onto someone on the course yesterday and told me the same thing. Like, that was the best. That was my favorite one. I've listened to like 4 times.
Do you have a second? Do you want to hear a story about Eric?
Dude, we got plenty of time.
We got plenty of time, and we're all about
the
stories.
Donuts are coming.
Okay. So the first time I ran the Zion 100, it was the first year.
Yeah.
And I noticed that I was running about the same pace with these 2 other guys who it was their first 100-miler, and this other guy who I came to find out was Eric.
Right.
And we just kind of, how you kind of go back and forth with people. Right. And finally, after doing that for a few miles, we're like, let's just kind of run together. And so we ended up running a ton of the race together. And I had done one other 100-miler, and these 2 guys had done no 100-milers. And we were like fangirl with Eric because he had done a ton of 100-milers.
Well, yeah.
And he just was giving us great advice and everything. So we're running down the trail, and he found a tennis ball. And he's just throwing it up and playing with it. And his interview with you where he says it has to be fun, he is not exaggerating one bit. That really is him. So he's throwing this tennis ball around and laughing, and I'm just like, this is amazing that he is just so casual out here. And the tennis ball had a little cut in it, and when he squeezed it, it kind of looked like a mouth. And someone said, what would be awesome is if we had a Sharpie marker that we could draw some eyes on it.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, that'd be funny. You will not believe this. About a mile later, we came across a Sharpie marker on the trail. I could not believe it. So there's a picture that I have of this little tennis ball with eyes and the mouth. And I mean, when was the last time you found a Sharpie marker on the trail?
Right.
Never.
That worked.
Never.
That worked.
That wasn't all dried out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's like Wilson.
It is like Wilson.
That one movie.
Yeah,
That's
that
hilarious.
guy's amazing. Eric is amazing.
He is. I mean, he's a good athlete too.
Yeah.
I know he downplays, but man, that dude's a beast.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun for us because we have just cool people on. I mean, yourself, you're right in that category. Just amazing people with these stories. Because everybody, like, people are listening to this show right now, when they're listening to it, and they're going to be, oh my gosh, you got to listen to this show. It's with Cory, and this one time I was on a trail, and they're going to have a story just like that.
Oh, yeah.
So it's totally that just goes round and round with stories, and next thing you know, it's like, oh, I ran with him one time in this, and it's like people know you through these stories, and that kind of goes back to the beginning of the show where it's like that's kind of what trail running's about in a way.
It is.
Is that community of stories, and it's really neat that you can leave an impression on people that way. And usually, 90+% of the time they're positive because it's the trail running community. So there's not a whole lot of tools out there. So with the book, it's awesome.
It is.
Like I said, we're gonna have a contest we have 2 to give away that are not just the books.
Nope.
But Cory grabbed a Sharpie found on the trail right here and wrote in it.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be some from the author. They're signed books, basically.
Yeah, which is really rad.
So we're gonna have a contest. We're gonna promote the heck out of this book for
Yeah.
you know. I mean, not that you really need it because it's
right. So where can they get the book right now?
Amazon and Kindle are the main easiest places to grab it.
Okay. So we'll have a link on the website.
And how cool is it? Not just to be published, because that's what you hear people. I can't believe I'm published, but it's 1 week officially. You're a top seller.
Isn't that amazing?
It's
Come
really
on, don't be
crazy.
so humble.
It's really crazy. It's crazy just to be at this point where I just feel really thankful that people are embracing it and liking it. And
Right.
I just feel really thankful.
So give us, you don't mention any names, but give us some of the feedback you've got. I mean, what's some of the, like, be honest, what's some of the feedback you've got from people that, I know you've been, I'm absolutely 100% positive you've been moved by some of the feedback, but what's some of the feedback you're getting from the book?
I think one of the nicest things I heard was my friend Katrina bought the book and she read it and then she posted on Facebook, this was so moving for me. I loved this book so much and I feel so confident in it that if you feel like you need some inspiration right now, I'm gonna buy 5 people the book. So
that's awesome.
So tell me if you're one of those 5, and of course there were
Right.
5 in like 5 minutes. But I thought, well, if she's willing to go buy 5 more books for people, that felt really nice.
That says a
awesome.
lot about you and how you impacted her.
Yeah.
Right? And it speaks volumes of your ability to relay the experiences that you've had, and they can identify with those. That's so rad.
Thanks.
Running or not running, like
Yeah.
you mentioned before, and that's what's good about it. Because it's definitely a book I'll be getting for people that I know that could probably not just use it, and I think that might be not the best words for it, but I think people that I know would enjoy it.
Right.
You know, like gifts and stuff. That's totally what I've already talked about doing with that too. So it'll be pretty neat.
You don't gotta get one for me.
Yeah. You've read yours like 3 times. It'll be in
Pretty
his
much.
truck with
Yeah.
folded ears
Yeah,
and coming
totally.
apart.
Oh man, I almost got the highlighter out yesterday.
That's what I do. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna laugh at you.
I do too.
Yeah.
I love that. So I do have a question that's kind of interesting. I was reading it and I'm like, were you scared that it wouldn't sell at any point? Were you just kind of nervous, like, man, I'm going to write this book. I'm going to pour my heart into it. I'm going to take a year to do this, and nobody's going to buy it.
For sure.
Really?
For sure. I always worry, like, am I throwing a year of work away
Right.
just because it's going to flop? Like, yeah, definitely. I don't know. It's scary to put it out there and see how it's going to be received. I think that any artist or musician or writer or whatever.
Podcasters.
What's that?
Or
Yeah.
podcasters.
Or podcasters.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Just
Same thing.
putting yourself out there.
But now
hoping
you're like,
that-
hope somebody listens to this thing.
Yes. It's a risk.
It
So
is.
You always have that backup credit card with a high amount where if it starts to go slow, you just go buy a ton of them, right?
Oh,
Definitely.
That's not a bad take, but you definitely wouldn't want to do that by anything. So one question I want to know, and the reason I want to know this is I had someone ask me that, is what is the deal with you and donuts? Like, seriously, what's the sticker with that?
I just have a serious hardcore sweet tooth. So my approach with diet is probably a little bit different than others. I feel like it's important to get the nutrients and the vitamins and minerals that you need. I think you should try to get your daily servings of fruits and vegetables. That's great. And I do that. And then anything else after that is bonus.
So like a raspberry-filled donut would be like
That
hitting
counts
2
as a
buckets,
serving.
right?
Yeah.
Because we just saw you were just on Facebook doing an interview, I think, with Ultra Adventures, and you ate a box of Twinkies.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
a
that's
really
so gross.
poor life decision.
oh my gosh.
Because those things will like live forever.
Dude.
Too, so.
You're getting old enough to know better.
I
Right?
know that I really have felt sick for 2 days since then.
I'm sure.
I could a whole box. Because what's there 12 in a box or
There's
something?
Oh my
there's 10 in a
gosh.
box,
10,
but
okay.
the problem I ran into is that. So I was doing the.
There's an additional problem to just actually eating the Twinkie.
Yeah, that was a huge problem. I was doing the interview with Matt Anderson, and I said, just sitting there talking is kind of boring. We should do something. We should be eating some Twinkies. So I got there to do the interview, and he said, I think it would be funny if just you're eating Twinkies, just random. You're just sitting there eating Twinkies.
He's like, I'm going to check you under the bus.
That's right.
So,
Dude, you're a
like
sucker.
a
Here you go.
schmuck, I did it.
Yeah.
And so during the 15 or 16 minute interview, I ate 7 Twinkies.
Are you serious?
And I felt so sick. So I thought, I've got to throw up. I don't want this toxic junk in my body. But I couldn't throw up. And so I thought, okay, well, I have 3 more Twinkies in this box. Surely,
You're committed.
if
You
I
gotta do
eat
it.
3 more Twinkies, I will throw up. So I ate 3 Twinkies. I got the whole box down, and I could not throw up. It was horrible.
Because they're made of sponge. They probably just like solidified.
They were.
So have you taken a deuce since then? Is
that whole night, my head was tingly, and I mean, I ate like 160 grams of sugar. That is so bad. I felt.
Oh my gosh.
But did you have your fruits and vegetables?
Yeah.
I did earlier in the day.
So I can just see how this goes down. It's like, we should have a buck. And Matt's like, yeah, but you should only eat
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
And Corey's over there going, awesome.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how you're explaining this to your wife.
Yeah.
You know, but babe.
I called her on the way home.
Just
and I
to
said,
warn her,
Mel, I have a problem. She says,
She's
what's
like,
wrong?
what now?
I said, I have a box of Twinkies in my stomach. And she started dying with laughter.
She's like, just eat a few nuts.
No,
and
it's not funny. I'm not trying to say this to be funny. I have a box of Twinkies in my stomach. Help. What do I do?
you eat some walnuts and you eat some raisins and make a fruitcake.
And she's like, you go to Walmart, and you know that stuff that you drink right before you get that age 50 exam? Yeah, that's what you got to buy, honey.
Not me. I'm straight on the way to the ER by that point. That's just
that magnesium sulfate. That's what that stuff is.
Yeah.
You get a bottle of that, and it's like,
Yeah.
I just couldn't imagine. The only reason I say that is I had a 4 Twinkie sitting once, like 3 or 4 years ago when Twinkies went off the market.
Yeah.
So I did. I had I think like 3, maybe 4. I might
And
have
did you
2.
feel disgusting afterward?
I felt like I crawled up. I was in the shower and I was curled up in a ball where the water
with the
hit me.
water hitting you.
And there was some slow music playing.
Like a heroin addict.
I just felt so dirty. You know?
Your wife comes in, honey, what's wrong?
Like I ate 4
There's 4 Twinkie wrappers on the ground.
And I'm over there with my finger on that little cardboard piece, just taking the last because you've all done that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I read that you ate a box, I'm
Yes.
like, I could not. I mean, I kind of did that dry heave myself because I'm like, I had 4 once,
Yes,
right?
yes. You feel my pain.
Yeah, because it was, and I did. I felt horrible. Like I'm over there just like eating an apple. I'm eating
Right.
like broccoli raw. I'm like, I gotta catch up. I gotta
catch up.
I gotta change the
Yes.
trend here.
Yep.
So, but you've done because you're an RD. I mean, we should make sure we mention
What?
that.
So what race do you RD
It's
for?
the Baker's.
Baker's Dozen
Yeah,
half
Let's see,
marathon.
based on donuts, right?
Really?
Baker's Dozen.
Yeah.
So what's the premise of this race? What's the history behind it? What's it for?
For a few years, I had it just kind of like an underground race. I didn't promote it. I didn't say anything and just told my friends, okay, this is the race. I'm going to buy gigantic medals. And I wanted to keep it underground because I didn't want to do like the city permits and
Right.
and everything. And then it kept growing and growing, and more people wanted to do it. So I thought, okay, I better. Actually, the
Somebody
city of
from
Hurricane,
the city
they
actually
they
showed
called
up.
and they said, we know how many people you've got out running. You need to have a permit. So I'm like, oh crap. So I had to make it a real race, but I
Right.
couldn't get permission from Hostess. I wanted to call it the Hostess Half Marathon,
Yeah, that wasn't gonna happen.
and I never heard it.
Is that why they went under?
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah.
Corey took him to court. You're done.
Yeah. So I changed it to the Baker's Dozen Half Marathon. So the loop is like a 3.2 mile loop, and they come back through, and I have every kind of sugar you could hope for, donuts and cookies and cupcakes and everything. And so they have to eat one before they go on. And I try to buy the biggest
The
medals
biggest
I can
thing.
buy, and
Yeah.
And so it's just fun. I tell people you're going to gain weight at this race. You're not going to lose anything.
Is it a trail or road race? Or
It's a road.
okay, because I was going to come down, but
Now you're out.
Now we're out.
That's way too far to run on
but
the
Oh,
road.
yeah, way too far.
the other thing, do you use the powdered donuts with the raspberry filling?
That could be tough to
we
get
have
down.
those.
Okay, because those are the ones I would do.
Those are
But those would be
so
tough,
good.
when you're trying to run, having that powder.
run, schmun.
Okay.
I get 3 or 4 free donuts.
Yeah.
Right?
you
running?
can drive 500 miles to get 4 free donuts.
I have done worse. So what? Give us a ballpark. What the date on it? Kind of the numbers you get out for
It's
it.
December 10th. Last year I had around 550 runners.
Say what?
500. So it's this race I started with my friends.
Yeah.
It's 500.
That's insane.
Yeah,
That's
between
awesome.
500 and 600.
Wow.
So it's
Do you have
a lot of fun.
Do you have a donut sponsor? You need one.
For the first couple years, the Sweet Tooth Fairy
Okay.
would sponsor some cupcakes, but they don't anymore.
Right.
So I just buy everything and have it there.
Because your affinity for this stuff goes
That's a
deep.
lot of donuts.
Yeah,
Because you have a Great Dane,
yeah, we do have a great day.
and your Great Dane's name is.
Little Debbie.
So that's awesome. So I saw when you got yours because I had a Great Dane.
Okay.
And so when I saw that you got yours, I'm like, that's pretty cool. And then you said the
Yeah.
name, and I just lost it.
Yeah.
Do you know how many donuts you go through?
I don't know.
Exactly?
I don't know. A
That
lot.
would be a good
Because
contest.
part of the contest is, you have to eat one when you come back through.
No, I'm
but you
saying
can
like
eat
for
more.
like to win your book, that would be like.
Oh, that would be a
guess
good.
how many donuts?
Oh,
I don't, but
gotcha.
he doesn't
Okay,
know.
I know.
I know.
we
That's
could
what I'm
do.
saying. That would have been good.
How about this? Do a contest to see. The part of the race is you can be the sugar slayer, so the person who eats the most treats. You have to eat one when you come through,
Well,
but
yeah.
you can try to eat the
As
most.
many?
So you could do the contest.
Oh, that
for
sounds awful.
How many treats did the winner
Do you
eat?
know that?
Yes, and it's
Okay, so
it's
we
a
got- there's one
disgusting
book.
amount.
That's one book.
Okay, so we're gonna do. Let's just name the contest now.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 2 books
We do signed.
signed by the author.
Yep.
1 contest. So listen up, folks, because you have to go to our website,
Yeah.
trailmanners.com.
And there's a certain reason. So let's talk about that real quick. So, Eric and I, we're about a year into this
Yeah.
podcasting thing now.
Right, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so we're almost a year into it. 50 shows in, plus we have the single track session, plus we have the gear garage. So we're making a good go of it right now. And this last year when we went to the OR show, we were fortunate enough that somebody let us, use badges, right? And so next year we want to be legit.
Yep.
And to be legit, you have to be in a certain category, and ours would be blog. And you have to have a certain amount of visits to that blog.
Yep.
And
to their website.
right. And so right now we're not getting that as many as we need. We're getting that many on the downloads.
Yeah,
We're
on the
crushing
podcast.
the down. Every time I look at our stats on the downloads, I'm just blown away by it.
Yeah.
So we're killing it on that. So right now we're going to try something for the next couple weeks, where if we have a contest, we're going to try to drive you to the website, and we're not doing it as clickbait.
Oh, yeah.
There's a certain reason why we're doing it, and we're going to be upfront always. So that's why we're having you go to the website. You're going to have to leave a comment on the website.
So there's going to be on the post for this show that's going to be launching. There'll be 1 contest, and Cory mentioned what's going to be. Say what it is again.
How many treats the Sugar Slayer ate during
last
the race?
year
or-
yeah, this past year?
Now, did
Okay.
you have a contest? Was there a category for men and women, or was it just one person?
There was a category for men and women. The man, Chris Crash Pope, ate the most.
Okay.
And I can't remember how many the female winner got.
Okay, so how many the Chris Crash Pope?
Yep.
Yep, you nailed it. Keep going.
Damn, that one's hard.
Don't go backwards.
Okay, so how much did he eat?
Yeah.
How many treats did he eat? So
Yeah.
the winner, we'll run the contest for a week. The winner, I'll mail you out one of the books.
Yep.
We'll announce the winner on our show. And then the next contest, we have 2 books. That's
Yeah.
one book. The other book,
Yeah,
and leave a comment.
I'm liking this one.
If there was a book written about Trail Manners with Eric and Joel,
Yeah.
our book, what would the title of the book be?
Yeah,
That's good.
So,
and you got to go to the website to do it.
Yep, go to the website on this post, leave a comment there on those 2 contests. We'll run them for about a week, and
Yep.
then we'll announce the winners, and then we'll send you your autographed
Right.
book, which is just better. than a non-autographed book.
Yeah, I felt more warm and embraced.
I would
for mine.
So when I get an autographed book, I usually read that before I start reading the book, but I do it every time. So if I put it down the next day, I read that, and then I'll
go back to the cover.
Yeah, because then I feel totally like engaged, right? Like it's more personal.
Yeah.
Because I've had, Brian Powell autographed a book for me at his name,
Right.
so I'll read that, and I'll go start it. And I'll go back and start reading, the next day. So it makes you feel warm and fuzzy. And then you memorize it, and then you're just a whole nother level of cool. So that's the 2 contests we're going to do for that. So make sure you go and leave a comment on there. That's going to be awesome.
Right. What else we got coming out?
Well, we're going to be doing a show that's coming out at Amir Sport.
Yep. So they have their sale
outlet.
coming up at the end of the month.
Yep, end of the month, so we're going to be there, and there's going to be a contest for a Sunto Ambit 3 Vertical.
Yep.
We'll have that contest announcement with that show, and then we're also going to be at the Intermountain Healthcare Surgical and Rehab Center that's opening up here in Ogden.
Right.
The grand opening, so we're going to be there. So we got some good shows coming up.
We do.
But we're super psyched because we've been thinking, man, we want a good show for 50.
Right, and this one just happened to fall in our laps,
Right.
which was so cool.
You kind of feel lucky, kind of like we cheated because we got
did.
such a good one for 50.
We did.
It's like I was going to have to put on like a cartoon voice and act like I was somebody else, like some cool athlete, right? And they're like, okay, today Eric and Joel are in Studio
Jim
78.
Walmsley's in Studio 78.
Right. What's up, dudes?
With their crop top.
Yeah. What's up, dudes? I almost took a wrong turn. I almost didn't make it here. Just kidding.
He's never going to come on the show now.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
I mean, we can't stress enough, people. Seriously, I mean,
get the book.
Most of you know who Cory is. For
and
sure.
if you don't, follow him on social media. He's got a great blog, and definitely buy the book. Amazon, Kindle.
And we'll have a link on our website directly to the book.
Yep.
To make sure, don't just get one because you're going to get one and want to give some to somebody else. So get a couple books. You're not going to regret it.
And leave a review for him too on Amazon. That's really helpful, especially those authors that are genuine, that are good people. It helps them tremendously.
And if you leave a troll comment,
we're coming after you.
You know what's going to happen. So
pipes and baseball bats coming your way.
Yeah, that's right. I got that emoji.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll just send it to you for a hint.
And donuts.
Yeah, that's right. So
the donut mafia is coming.
You know what we'll do? We'll actually make you eat a box of Twinkies before we take care of things. So you're going to feel like
that is
hell before you get work. So
oh man, you talk about the squirts.
So no trolling. But make sure you help Cory out. Leave some comments there. Don't forget about our contests.
Yep.
Man, buy the book. Nowhere
Please.
Near First. Ultramarathon Adventures from the Back of the Pack. Author Cory Reese.
Thank you, guys.
So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Me and Joel usually like to get down to southern Utah in the winter.
Yep, we're coming your way.
Yeah,
Sweet.
so we'll hit you up. Maybe you can show us your little cruiser run trail.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That'll be awesome. But no eyes closed stuff.
No.
Me and Joe we're real peripheral type people. We like to look.
Okay.
Yeah.
See what we're doing.
Look.
Like we're lookers. So yeah, thanks for coming in. Thanks for joining us in Studio 78.
Thanks.
Best of luck. The book's awesome.
Thank you.
We thank you for the book more
Yeah.
than anything. I mean,
Thanks.
what you're putting out there is just helpful to anybody. And like you said, to put yourself out there, that's super courageous on top of those things. And you're not going to regret it. Get the book. And, we'll see you down the road. Maybe we'll have you back on for the sequel, too.
Yeah,
Perfect.
How's
for
that
sure.
sound?
That sounds good.
All right. Thanks again for listening to Trailmanners Podcast in Studio 78, 22nd Street Trailhead. Cory Reese, Joel Hatch, and myself.
Yep.
Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you for listening to the Trailmanners Podcast. We'd like to thank Mr. Cory Reese for coming up and hanging out in Studio 78 with us today. We're going to be posting his link to the book as well as his blog so you can follow more of what Cory does there. We'd also encourage you all to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at TrailManners or swing by the website at TrailManners.com. Don't forget to enter in the contest for 2 books. You get 1 if you win. So there's 2, so 2 total. Stop by the store page for some gear or hit us up on the contact page and let us know what you want to see, who you want to hear, or if you would like to be on our show. Until next time, this is Eric Manning with Joel Hatch reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Now go get it.